and welcome to another episode of the Elbows Down MotoGP podcast. My name is Alex Higginson, and once again I'm joined by Jimmy Harrison.
Yes, we've had a couple of weeks away, I think, haven't we?
We have, unfortunately. Our last episode was a couple of weeks ago when we did our fantasy, so if you haven't watched that yet, it was our idea of the 2027 lineup of riders, having 26 riders on the grid. It wasn't a prediction by any means. It was our what we would like to see for the 2027 thing. So if you want to watch that episode, just skip back one because we had a good laugh doing it. I think we were a little bit tiddled at one point, but it was good fun.
I don't really know what happened on the YouTube front of things. We've got one of our least views ever, and Spotify it was different. It was a lot better. So, but yeah, it's. I think a lot of people just care about what's happening now. But if you fancy a bit of, no, that's wrong. I'd have put him here, like for fantasy grid 27. I'll look back at it as Alex says.
If you fancy a bit of an argument,
yeah,
we're always up for one. Right, so obviously we've just had Jerez. We've had one of...
we had Qatar. I don't think we even covered Qatar, but yeah, we've just had Jerez. Carry on.
yeah. So we've just had Jerez.
Yes.
Pretty cool weekend. Really, really great results at the end.
Yeah.
Saturday produced some amazing results as well. We had Quartararo's first podium since the dawn of existence.
Feels like it, yeah.
Fabio Quartararo's first podium for over 1,000 days. And pole position as well. And pole position for Fabio Quartararo. So a podium and pole position. We had some drama in the sprint, and then unfortunately it turned into a bit of a...
the sprint was actually one of the more boring sprints. I mean, sprints have never been as exciting as... I don't think they'll ever be as exciting as they were back in early 2023 because it was new to everyone. We've got to remember that. But
everyone was running them like a sprint.
Yeah.
Everyone was running them in that sort of...
mayhem, wasn't it?
Yeah, fuck it, we don't need to worry about tyres anywhere near as much as we usually do, and now we have to care more about tyres, so it's just got a bit more boring recently. I think that the sprint was pretty dull, but I mean, the start of it was fantastic. Fabio got away really well. He did beat Mark to the first corner, and he beat Mark out of the first corner anyway. And it shaped up to be. It looked like it was going to be a really, really exciting race, if a bit tense, having Fabio at the front. And then it all went a little bit wrong at the start of the second lap.
Yeah, going into what used to be called dry sack into Dani Pedrosa corner. Now I didn't think that line was that bad. Back in the Lorenzo days, he'd be out that wide, just to maximise the racing line, so he could sweep through it. If that makes sense. These bikes now with the power they have, there's more stand up and squirt it out the corner now, even with the Yamaha. But it was dirty offline. That's the point, though, isn't it? It was dirty offline, and it was a real shame because that's what we saw on Sunday. He could finish second, so I think it would have been a set of P2 for him. In theory,
probably should have been. The big issue that was the talking point for the Yamaha on Saturday, and has been for the last few years, has been rear grip, and you could see really, really clearly when it was all slowed down how much more rear brake Marquez could use into the first corner, and compared to Fabio Quartararo, who basically had no grip with the rear whatsoever, having to use the front so much to determine how well he would get it stopped into the first corner, and obviously. He won't have realised that Marquez was coming up on the inside of him either. He probably wouldn't have noticed. And then by the time he had noticed, he'd already sort of tipped it in and thought, hang on a minute, no. And then it all went a bit wrong. There was quite a distance between. It's probably about a metre distance between Fabio and Mark when Fabio crashed out. But so for anyone that's watching it from the wrong angle and just sort of a fleeting sort of visit to the whole situation and thinks, classic Mark, he's just barged him wide. But no, he hadn't. It was it
was a good move. To be fair, it was
a good move. Yeah, and it would have been amazing. It would have been amazing if Fabio had saved what he did, but
he lost. Only to be fair, he didn't lose it. He was already cranked over, and then it took. It wasn't like it was heavily under braking. So he wasn't about to save that. Unfortunately, you can see on Sunday. We'll get to it in a minute. Mark tried to save his at the left that he was trying to make time with, but Fabio wasn't catching that. But it was. Disappointing that, honestly, but he made it for a race day. What a great day. I mean, I've been there in 2023. Alex really wants to go. Who doesn't want to go to Jerez? It was the sport. I mean, if you follow MotoGP on the socials, you saw at like 5 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black still. No.
Yeah, five. Yeah, it will have been really early hour. Well,
It must
early
be
hours
5.
of the morning.
It should be bright at night. But yeah, I mean, it's packed. The famous stadium section at Jerez always gives me goosebumps when you can hear them. Like someone makes a move and they get excited.
And you just hear like a.
Yeah, and it's the
like,
microphones
man.
always pick it up, and it's not something Dawn I have to fake. It's I've been there for the sprint in 23 hours, sat at that hill. It was just nuts.
And also think about the amount of. I mean, I'm not a sound guy at all. I mean, I'm pretty sound in person, but I'm not like a sound engineering kind of guy. My dad was. My dad was a sound engineer once upon a time. But the amount, the quality for sound on the cameras and the microphones is so restricted to the commentators. So, for example, when you've got Michael Laverty and Gavin Emmett stood at the stadium section.
Yeah.
In front of the fans, even all the screaming, all that sort of stuff is so toned down because the sound is focused on what they're saying, not what the fans are screaming. So you imagine if those restrictions weren't there, if they just had like one of our microphones, for example,
just like that,
had it there, like the amount of noise that they must be making there is insane.
It doesn't do it justice, guys. I mean, I think they did actually stand earlier on in the weekend. Susie did at that section for a bit, but I only saw it where it was at Crivier and Ferrari corner on Sunday morning when they were doing the outlaps to the grid, and they actually kept the cameras rolling for when they were going past. And when TNT Sports do this sort of behind the scenes service road footage, and then bikes went past, I thought, okay, this would be interesting. And it is just so limited. The sound that goes just doesn't do it justice, folks. If you think MotoGP is boring, well, and go to watch a race just for the sound if you can. But anyway,
that was ace. I loved that whole bit where Gavin and Michael were at that corner. They were watching the bikes go past while they were doing their sort of behind the scenes commentary sort of stuff, which was ace.
I think that was something I saw Sky Sports F1 do. Started doing that. I think Martin Brundle used to do it.
It was during the warm up. It was during the sighting lap.
It was the sighting lap. Yeah.
Sighting lap.
Yeah, when you go around and then through the pit lane around again, sort of thing. But it's a good idea. I think Martin Brundle was the first person to do it for F1, and Karen Champot did it at Monaco, right at the Armco. Dangerous. But yeah, really good footage there. But yeah, Sunday race day, 100,000 fans. I think Gavin Emmett said was there on race day, and it was well over 200 for the weekend.
Yeah,
but you can't fit that many fans as they used to because they keep moving the runoff areas, which they need to. You can see down in Pedrosa corner, they dug into it so much they re-profiled the hill behind it, and it now looks like a bit of an Aragon wall, doesn't it?
Wall, yeah.
But yeah, you can see it's turn 1 that extended the runoff. I think there's a Cito Ponds corner before that long Cito Ponds corner, the runoff there. They're pretty much done for now. I think as much as they can. But even so, like Morbidelli's crash was a good example of this, where Mick Doohan's career ended, turn 3, it's going into turn 4, and it was cast the same corner, really, isn't it? And this is behind the pits. Sorry, in front. No, that's the back end of the lap, isn't it? It's the So
I can tell you're hungover today.
Turn 1, 2. Yeah, we had paella and beers after. It was a good evening, wasn't it?
It was a bloody good day. It was. Yeah. I mean. Well, obviously, we want to talk about what happened because what's great with Jerez race day itself is that we can actually give an analysis from 5 o'clock in the morning, not just from the start of the race. Yeah. We can start early on in the morning. I mean, we had an amazing day, us two, and Jimmy's girlfriend Katie was there. My wife was working, so she couldn't make it, and we just had a great day. Watching the race. I mean, I got round for Moto2, didn't I? I watched Moto3 at home.
Yeah.
But at the track, we can give a whole sort of analysis of what happened. Hello, Monkey.
Yeah.
We can give because something else really, really cool happened as well that morning when everybody had got themselves set up on the hill and all that sort of stuff, and Pedro Acosta put a hoodie on.
Yeah, and I think he was. But Incognito wasn't giving out T-shirts and that. That was great. That was really. No, I don't think anyone else did that.
He took a Donna. He took like a Donna cameraman with him, didn't he? Something like that. And then got there, and everyone's sort of like, "Hang on a minute, that's Pedro."
Yeah.
And then he starts throwing T-shirts at everyone.
Probably had to get out. Probably had to get out of there. Sharpish, probably. But yeah, But yeah, as you said, back to the track, Morbidelli and a few other accidents, they're starting to reach the wall. They're smashing into the air fence.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these Grand Prix tracks, yes, the air fence is there for a reason. However, the sport doesn't really want them to reach it. The bike should be kept to a halt before it gets there. Obviously, the air fence needs to be there in case that happens. But it was happening. It's just because these bikes now are going faster than Jerez was ever intended for motorbike racing.
It is a very small track, and even some of the riders have been saying that it's, if it wasn't for the atmosphere and that sort of thing, it'd probably be one of those tracks where they think, why are we still coming here?
Yeah,
it's too small for the current bikes. I mean, obviously we're having a bit of a downgrade in 2027, or an upgrade, depending on how you see it, but a downgrade in terms of outright speed.
Corner speeds might be just as fast, though.
Well, they might be, yeah.
Because Pirelli tyres coming in, and the bikes, in theory, might well be lighter.
Lighter, yeah.
But obviously, the approach speed might be lower, so we'll have to see about that. But yeah, it was a bit scary at times, but the Jerez circuit have spared no expense.
And obviously, every time you bash into an air fence, it's a red flag, session stopped.
To rebuild it,
to rebuild the air fence and go again. So obviously, you do not want people hitting the air fence, but it's there in case it's absolutely necessary.
But I mean, like, good point about like some tracks will be like, you can't get your grade A license for FIM or whatever they call it for FIM until this is like this. But obviously, I think the pressure was probably on from Dorna and the whole Grand Prix Commission to make sure that guys, come on, it's too close. I remember going to the pit lane walk in 2023, and the entrance to the pit lane walk was at the exit of pit lane. So you saw turn 1. 50 yards away, and I thought, that's the bloody runoff.
Yeah.
That's the runoff. You could throw a stone quite easily from the edge of the track, way over the fence into the crowd. Now, anyone who could throw half decently, that's nothing.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, turn 1, I remember saying to Pete, I can't believe that's the runoff for turn 1. And I think I was looking today, because we're going to Brno. Have we told you? Their Instagram, Bruno's Instagram, they're extending the runoff in a lot of areas. Turn 1 runoff at Brno, if you look at it before, it's like, what?
I'm actually using Bruno's circuit Instagram to help me practice Czech. I'm trying to. They do have an English translation on there, but I try to ignore that and have a look at it. So I just get 2 words and I'm like, nah. Never mind.
Yeah, it's also a lot faster.
It's a great Instagram to follow if you do follow the Brno circuit. They're doing, if you're interested in this sort of thing, they're doing the whole process of adapting the track and resurfacing at the moment. They've been resurfacing for the last month, I think, and
it's everything's well. It's the paddock as well.
It's a massive upgrade because obviously it's not been used for a few years. It's a very
I think the last time fans went there was 2019. Obviously, it went in 2020. 2020 happened and Binder won it, famously.
Won't have had any fans.
Back to Jerez. So, race day. We were so, you were there, but at that point we thought, we'll get a paella going after. Have to walk the dogs, because we thought, we can sort of see where this is going. I thought Mark will just do that again. Whether Fabio follows him or not and stays upright, Mark will still win, but we were wrong. Everyone,
it was amazing.
Mark got swamped at the start by Pecco and Fabio. Alex Marquez, I think Mark got past Alex at turn 1 actually at the exit. But Mark was so impatient, and it was so unnecessary when the bike he's on and the pace he has. He was so impatient to get back past everyone, and Pecco passed him back. The same place Pecco passed him, like the stadium section last year. And then Mark passed him, and then Pecco passed him, and then I think Mark's foot fell off the footrest, and he accidentally sort of shoulder barged him, going into Crivier and Ferrari before the start of the 3rd lap, I think.
Don't forget as well,
he was flustered.
Yeah,
he was like, "This isn't going the way I assumed." So I still didn't see that happening though. And then obviously Neil Hodgson comes on. I don't think that camera was actually on live at the time. And then Marquez is down. Like, no, he's not. And he is, and he took it. And that was it. That was it. The whole dynamic of the race was going to change from then on.
Backtrack a little bit though.
Yes.
Obviously, Alex Marquez won the race. But if you'd have said that to me about 3 or 4 laps in, whatever it was, when he pretty much dive bombed into.
We thought about that, didn't we? Yes.
Yeah.
You're going into Danny Pedrosa corner, and
he was going into Danny
he's done
Pedrosa,
that before.
Yeah.
I swear, Alex Marquez has done this before, maybe twice before, where he's outbraked himself, and then he's got to find a gap. The rider's funneling into a corner, so he doesn't. And he nearly took his brother out.
And it was that, and then I was sort of thinking, like, bloody hell, what is going on with Alex at the moment? He's been pretty much inch perfect for the first 3 rounds, and then Qatar, he barged his brother out of the way, and was also a bit of a dick later on in the race as well. And then I thought, when this incident into the Danny Pedrosa corner happened, where I think he just outbraked himself completely, and I just thought, oh God, he's not choking under the pressure, is he? Or something like that. And then before you knew it, he was leading the race, and it was a great move on Fabio.
Did Fabio get to lap 10? Lap 12? Lap 9?
It was, he led 9 laps, I think, if I remember correctly.
Really incredible, really.
He led 9 laps, and then Alex put the move on him that was just
great move. I didn't think he was
really,
close enough
really
when he did that, but he made it. If you look back at the run up to the first corner of that lap, where he made the move, he'd obviously got a better exit out of the last corner, and it just looked like the Yamaha was stood still. He was able to catch him so much. I mean, obviously, we know today that Yamaha have gained 2 kilometers an hour in a new engine that Rins and Fabio Quartararo will be using at the French Grand Prix at Le Mans. And Rins has said it's only 2 kph, but at this level, that's a lot.
It's half a second faster a lap.
Yeah, this is really good news for Yamaha. But I was just saying to you in the race, wasn't I, while he was leading before Alex made the move, to stay ahead of where he is, the concentration. Like, I know they all have to concentrate. I'm just saying that inch perfect on that Yamaha when it's not the best bike. So to last 9 laps in the lead, I thought was incredible.
The confidence boost for Yamaha it must be amazing, and also all that data that they haven't been able to get for so long, especially with tyres.
Yeah.
I mean, how often have any of the Yamaha the 2 Yamaha teams, when have they ever had to do a tyre setup? When have Michelin ever had to do a tyre setup that's for leading the race? I mean,
I know. We were saying that before. What happens to Pecco when
the last few years, anyway?
Yeah, for the last few years, yeah. It's like, how do you set the bike up if you think, what if I get a good start, but I've got a pressure set at the start of the race to be in the pack? It's just awful.
And that would be a worrying thing as well if Fabio then started getting into battles with other riders. Say if Marc Marquez stayed in the race, and then there was a battle between him, Alex. That sort of issue.
It could have been golden.
Pecco. Yeah. It could have been, but then he would have had to worry about his tyre pressure, and probably would have had to drop back to a bit of a gap so that it could feel like he was leading the race. He was getting the cool air on the tyre. I don't know. It was a really difficult situation to be in. It's one that you'd have to manage, and you'd have to sort of stick yourself in the middle of nowhere and make sure that you had a second either side of.
Knowing our luck, there's Dawn Republic putting a video out there now, and there was a microphone behind Fabio talking to his team about the pressures. Because I don't want it just to be about wet races. I want to see that again.
Yeah.
I know pressures are boring, but it's really interesting hearing the rider tell the chief engineer that I want to go this. I want it this go. I'm going to go. I'm going to be leading. I'll set it up this way, or the other way. I found that fascinating, that video in Austin. But yeah. It's just a pain. I mean, the only person that got a penalty, I believe, was Aleix Espargaro, who ended up being penalised. I think he finished P13, but then he was 17th.
Did he actually get the penalty?
Yeah, I think it was 17th at the end.
Right.
Yeah. Unless it was. Have you got it there?
That's on Moto2 at the moment.
Yeah. It might still have not changed on here.
No, it has. Yeah.
No, it has on there. So 17th for Aleix. It was great when he fought back Marc. Yeah. Marc was doing incredibly well on a damaged bike. I mean,
I was thinking though, before you say that, he was quite, he was outside the top 10, but I thought he'd be given a 16-second penalty. Like everybody knows the time pressure. Oh, hang on a minute. The only person he had behind him was Savadori, who was 10. Well, the only person who was at the back of the race was Savadori, who was, quick maths. It was 18 seconds behind Augusto Fernandez. Yeah. It was funny. Someone there, I think it was Neil Hodgson, said something about Savadori. It was like, it's such a shame that Martin's not here, because not only is is Bez new to the machinery and all that sort of stuff. World champion's not here, and also they've got a wild card in their test rider who just isn't a very good
He's a great test rider.
He's a great test rider.
That's where it stops.
He
really,
just,
isn't it? Yeah.
But
that's what he's there for.
He's there to test ride. He's not there to actually get any results. Whereas Aleix would have got points for Honda, but
his forearms weren't quite there.
His forearms weren't quite there.
But obviously, Mark, being Mark, got to P12, still scored points. But that battle he had with Aleix back passing him was
it was so funny. It was just really, really good. And I bet if Mark wasn't feeling the pressure, but he probably would have really enjoyed that as well. And I know that Aleix definitely did. And also, what a great opportunity for Honda, having the data of battling with a factory Ducati and actually getting the cutback on a factory Ducati. I mean, it's just fantastic, really, when you think about it.
Mark was going in hot, but it doesn't matter. A lot of riders would think, okay, well, I'm going to lose the end of the straight after. But no, Aleix was not having that. It was brilliant. And in fact, going after turn one, the following lap, it was still at it a little bit. But after turn one, Mark thought, no, that's enough for you. Get behind me.
Yeah.
But that was entertaining. But I did think Pecco would. I was disappointed in Pecco yesterday because I thought Pecco had enough.
Pecco was disappointed in himself.
Not even beat Fabio Quartararo, let alone get past him and challenge Alex for the win. So Pecco's winning streak at Jerez is no longer.
Really does make you wonder, though, doesn't it? And we were saying this during the race, and when it got to sort of like the last couple of laps, I think I said to you something on the lines of what a blow to Pecco's self-esteem.
Yeah.
That he's getting beaten by not just a Yamaha, and he can't seem to overtake a Yamaha, but by his old rival, who hasn't been his rival since 2022.
It just shows you that I think he is telling the truth when he says he's not comfortable.
Yeah,
but he is telling the truth.
And then the bike is too good and all that sort of stuff.
Because he can't. Because it's so perfect, he doesn't know the limit and things like this. Which, look, Pecco usually tells it like it is too much. So, I mean, I don't think he's lying. The option's there to go back to the old bike, but he won't. So, I mean, because maybe it looks bad on Ducati, the factory team, that they're using a 24 bike.
Maybe. But then, at the end
of the day, it's points, it's championships at stake here. By the way, I mean, we didn't really talk about Mark enough, I don't. Does it really affect his championship that much? It does if he carries on doing it. And it was a stupid mistake. Trying to make up all that time on the lefts. Especially, after Dani Pedrosa's corner, you've got those fast lefts, and then the sweeping one that goes into the stadium section. That's where Mark finds so much time. So much so that the lap before he crashed, that was lap one, he's already on the inside of Pecco.
Yeah.
Already. He's on but as Neil Hodgson was saying, he's on the wrong side of him now. But Mark was just too impatient. I think it's a shame because all those fans had waited that long to see him win it home. He technically won the sprint, so
and they got a good compromise.
Yeah,
they got his brother instead.
And the fans immediately thought, okay, well, we've got Alex. And,
you can't have Mark, but you can have Alex.
Yeah, and so, that was almost a fairy tale, really. It was great for everyone. I mean, Mark won't be happy, but he's still got. Hopefully, even though that's in there like that, it's still working.
I just have this whole thing about the last couple of episodes where we where we just see the light on the microphone go off and we're just like, it's not fucking recording anymore. Anyway, so yeah, but yes, then the top non-Ducati Vinales again. Would you have put money on that?
Not really. I mean, it's incredible enough that he got a P2. Was it P2? P3 in Qatar. I mean, that was exceptional. A really weird race.
It was a P2, wasn't it? Yeah.
He's won at Qatar before for Yamaha, but it's just strange. That guy's strange. He's so capable now of showing how good he is when he wants to.
Yeah.
But usually you think after that, okay, I'll have another few P10s now for the 10 races, and then I'll come back.
Oh, I might have a little technical here and there as well.
So I get signed for next year.
But he scored points in both races. Did Marvin Vinales? 3 points for the P7 in the sprint and a P4 in the race. Yeah, P4 in the race. Yeah.
Well, I was saying to you, the race, I was like, I mean, he was averaging about 4. He was 4 tenths behind Pecco for third when the race calmed down. I thought, could you imagine if Pecco isn't even on the podium because Mark beat him? Pecco, maintained the gap. I think it was So it was second in, or 7/10, wasn't it?
Tell you what, though, Binder and Acosta weren't far behind in the main race.
No.
They weren't too far behind when you think about it, really. I mean, what's the seconds here? I mean, yeah, there were 4 seconds behind Vinales. But, I mean, Digia was running a very lonely race in P5. He got a very lonely P5. Back to Binder, then Acosta. Binder beating Acosta still. Wouldn't have been saying that maybe this time last year when Acosta was sort of like showing his showing his form and that sort of thing, and the fact that he can battle for podiums and wins and that sort of thing. And then, but we were saying last year Acosta, yeah, he's binning it at the moment, but who do we know that's not done that?
The confidence thing is
generation talent, all that sort of stuff. And then, yeah, and he's still getting beaten by his factory teammates. So.
Yeah, but I mean, this. If you'd have said to me in November, Acosta still won't have won a race.
What? All 4 KTMs were in the top 10.
Yeah.
Giannini in P9.
Yep. Well, of course he was. He's Mr. Tyre Saver, isn't he? But yeah,
yes.
top 10s are good. But at the same time, I was going to say, like, I'd have thought by now Acosta would have won his first race for Red Bull KTM. But we didn't realise how uncomfortable these riders are on this year's KTM. And it looks like a clumsy bike right now. It does look really good. It looks as clumsy as the Honda does. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they find something. Hopefully they find something today in testing. I really hope they find something.
Oh yeah, testing today. Yeah, a couple of bits of news about that. The 2 riders that are not taking part in the testing today are Somkat Chantra, because he pulled out of the race because of forearm pain.
Yeah.
So Chantra didn't finish, I don't think. Yeah,
he was passed by Mark, wasn't he? When Mark was, that's the last we saw him.
Yeah, he didn't say arm pump; it just said forearm pain.
Right.
I don't know if it's not an injury. I don't think. I think it's just that his arms just aren't strong enough. Same sort of thing that Alex was struggling with. Obviously, he's had half a year off.
So I didn't actually text one of the lodgers, the only lodger, to come round the front door. So we've had to pause and resume. But going back,
where we left off.
Yeah, it's only been 10 minutes. Going back to Chantra with the arm and whatnot, I can't believe that. I mean, Alesia's got a bit of an excuse. He's basically a professional cyclist now. He's in a team. So I could understand him having an excuse for not being strong enough. He couldn't feel his arms after practice and whatnot. So yeah, but Chantra, I mean, if it is that what he said, he needs to hit the gym harder. This isn't a Moto2 bike. This is so far beyond Moto2. Well, actually, his lap times. I heard that the pole in Moto2 was only 2 or 3 tenths slower than Chantra.
Yeah.
But then it's such a small track. It's an extreme example of this because there's no long straights. They don't even reach top gear for very long. In fact, barely at all.
I don't think they ever get into 6th gear, to be honest.
And you've got the Pirellis faster than every Moto2. So yeah, he I think it was 2 seconds slower. 2 seconds behind pole doesn't sound like a lot. But yeah, I mean, I think he needs to hit the gym harder because if it is like lack of strength, I'll tweet him.
Maybe I should go and tell him that. Yeah, you need to hit the gym harder, mate. Just fucking laugh me out of the fucking room.
I'm sure his cardio is insane, like all of them. Like they're extremely fit, but strength is necessary. But yeah,
I think as well the other rider that isn't taking part in the Jerez test, which was today, was Franco Morbidelli because he had, and it made me laugh a little bit when I read it. I thought it might be a typo, and I had to look it up. He's suffering from a cervical concussion. And I thought, cervical concussion, what, his vagina makes him feel dizzy? And I'm like, oh no, when I looked it up, and it's cervical concussions to do with a certain part of your spine or something like that. Anyway, he's concussed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I was like, maybe it's cerebral or something like that.
Yes.
But I didn't realise that cervical could also mean stuff that goes on with your head. Anyway, I'm sure there are some doctors among you that know what that's all about, and you can yell at me on the internet and call me an idiot for it. But anyway, he's got a cervical concussion and has been deemed unfit to do the test, so he's sat it out, as well as Somkat Chantra, because of his arm problems. But yes, Pecco must have been feeling pretty dull after the weekend.
He sounded
pretty numb.
Pretty disappointed, apart from at least he picked up 16 points Mark's still got a small handful,
I
but
bet he can't wait for the. I bet he couldn't wait for the test that happened today, because you think about it, and then it was quite a good point that one of the commentators made, was that the test, yes, is important for Honda, Yamaha, and then having their concessions and all that sort of stuff, and then KTM and Aprilia are also very important for it. Probably the manufacturer that is most. The test is most important for is Ducati.
Well, which is you can't believe when you say it. Like, what do they really need to do that? But again, you lose 2 Ducatis off the grid. It's still the top 6 bikes, more or less. But yeah, I'm just thinking. I swear, when I looked earlier on today, right? I mean, there's another. I know there's a private one tomorrow, I believe. But when I did look, right, well, by now it was 17th. He wasn't listed, but Pecco wasn't pushing for a time today. I was listening to. I never ever click on the MotoGP live thing. You know, when it's just I never do that, but I did today. And Kiko from Dorna was talking, and he was saying Pecco's got so much to test today. So I just hope he's more comfortable, because we want more scraps with him and Mark and Alex.
I wonder what the questions are. I wonder if the questions are: do we go back to the last year's bike?
Unless he finds something. I mean, he's got Le Mans in a fortnight. And then race is going to start more or less coming fairly thick and fast. Really, I don't think there's maybe 1 3-week break. I think it's fortnight. Silverstone coming up after Le Mans, and then you've got things like Mugello, Aragon, Germany, Aston. I might not have said that in the right order, but yeah, it has to happen soon, and the decision has to be made. I don't know. Ducati will be first, because if Mark keeps crashing, you want your other Ducati. I think Mark will keep crashing. Touch wood. But I think a decision, you're right, it has to be made soon if he isn't comfortable, even after testing new parts. But we need to talk about the race winner.
We do need to talk about the race winner, and it was very emotional, wasn't it? It was. I think we'd had quite a lot of beer at this point, but we were welling up a bit, weren't we? Especially with Mark, especially with Alex and Mark's mum being in the garage and all that sort of stuff, and her crying, their dad that was there as well. I think that's the first time that I've seen both the Marquez parents in the same garage, because usually his mum can't watch, can she? Yeah.
I mean, obviously Spanish Sheep, it could be more perfect for him, really. It's not like Mark had a technicality or crashed miles out the lead, that would still not take anything away from Alex. I'm just saying that Alex was ahead of Mark already. No, he was ahead of him already, I believe. So this is massively deserved, and it was an emotional day for those who were real fans of the sport, because Neil Hodgson nailed it. Like, it was all for him. The whole crowd was chanting, "Alex, Alex," and your first Grand Prix win at home after all these years, after the struggles at LCR Honda. He's had it tough, and more or less his whole racing career. I'm pretty sure he never got even got preferential treatment as brothers, at home or anything like that. But the questions, I remember once a few years ago, he was just so sick of the media asking him questions about his brothers. Like, I am here, you can ask me questions about my career, my team, my performances. So yeah, well deserved. I don't think we thought, it would have been great to see Fabio win. But then when he crossed the line, we thought, this is so cool, so special. He leads the championship now.
Yeah, and he leads the championship for the second time this season.
Yes, yeah.
And Mark managed to do such an amazing job of his comeback.
Yes,
from his crash, that they're now almost tied for points. I mean, Mark is now only 1 point behind Alex.
It could have been 4 or 5, couldn't it, really?
Well, it was at one point, yeah. I think after Mark had crashed and he'd rejoined in like P22 or something, it was 5 points adrift.
Yeah, and it could come down to that. If Mark has a struggle and Pecco finds it, and it comes down to the last few races, and we're talking, tiny points, everything counts.
What if this keeps happening all year? Mark wins a few races, Alex brings home a load of P2s, gets the odd race win here and there, and
it's a very important point. Again, I bring Pecco into it, but Alex is potentially a title contender. Why wouldn't he be? Why shouldn't he be?
Yeah.
There was times last year on the Brasilia Ducati, Mark could have mathematically still won the championship. As far as
I think that was the last.
I think Australia was the first race where that's it. It's mathematically impossible. But Alex is on an absolute roll. He's got the team behind him. He doesn't have to develop new parts. Not really. He's on a 24 bike. He hasn't got massive factory responsibility here. Mm-hmm. He's just got an already sound motorcycle, arguably one of the best bikes ever made, the GP24.
And it's very, very close compared to last year when we had the GP24 and the GP23. Because remember how different the GP23 was to the GP24, and how much riders like Marco Bezzecchi was struggling with it, really, really struggling with the GP23. And then the GP24 seemingly is the best bike that's ever been built in history for racing, and the GP25.
In terms of domination, anyway, I mean, how far? I mean, you could argue, what about a couple of Doones and Star 500s? Yes, but that was also just Doone was an absolute animal, and Suzuki RGP 500s are wild. Why their 500s can still put it to them, but that 24 Ducati was so much better than anything else in the grid. So Alex has every chance. Unless he loses his mind, I don't think he will. Actually, I think he's riding an incredible wave of confidence. It's still early, but it's still. I mean, because of this, they're both still in it. I mean, I was looking at the points, thinking, well, what if Yamaha do? Well, what can Fabio do? But he's 90 points behind now. We've seen Pecco win a championship 90 points behind further on into the season.
We have, but
that he was on a much superior bike than Fabio already back then. But I think Fabio can. He'll have more podiums anyway.
Yeah,
going back to Fabio there. Sorry, but I can't. We were a bit emotional when that happened. But it was brilliant. His partner was as well. It was an excellent day, very awesome day. I just wish I was there. It was such a perfect day here. The only other place in the world I'd rather been would have been there. Seriously, it was exceptional.
Yeah, it was a great day, didn't we? Yeah. It's really, really good. And you've woke up feeling a bit wobbly this morning. But,
it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, back on the beers now, so we're all right, aren't we?
Yeah. Only for the pod. We'll touch on the other classes, Alex.
Yes. So Moto2. Moto2 was definitely the second best race of Sunday. I think we'll get on to Moto3 in a minute. I mean, Moto2 had some very, very close, scary moments. I mean, I remember the move that Senna Aegis on, God, who was it? Was it on Moreira? And it was so close going down the start-finish straight. I think it was Aegis on Moreira. And
it was on the back straight when because
was it the back straight?
Yeah, it was.
It was the back straight. Yeah. Sorry, yes, it was.
I don't think Moreira was there. Did
it was inches. Moreira had no idea he was there, and also just like that podium is just mental. I mean, Gonzalez, what an amazing win, convincing. I mean, he won by 2.5 seconds, or so, 2.4 seconds, and. But Barry Baltus back in good form.
Yeah,
fantastic. Amazing what a haircut does for you. And yes, Senna Aegis is looking really, really good. He's been looking really good for the whole season so far, I think. And and a cracking podium from him. So really, really happy for him. Dennis Unchu, what a great ride from him as well. Moreira. I mean, they all just made me so happy. All those sort of newbies that not necessarily rookies, but the newbies, the sophomores, they're just really coming into their own now. Aegis, Moreira, Onchu. I was so chuffed with Onchu. You look at the top five. I mean, the only two in there that are kind of been there for a good amount of time is Gonzalez and Baltus. And then you go all the way back to Arenas, who's been there for ages and ages, and Vietti and Canet, Dixon. And, I mean, Jake didn't really seem sort of in form all weekend. I mean, he kept saying, didn't he? He kept saying that he didn't seem anywhere near as down as he did pre-Qatar, during the weekend before the race.
When he's talking himself down before anything.
He was like, I don't think it's going to go very well this weekend. But he was sort of a bit like that. He was good if we can challenge for a top 5. P9 in the end for Dixon. for the British
Points,
fans.
bring it home if you're struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. And he played it well. He didn't do what he did at Qatar, which was talk himself down and then crash.
Although he was going towards the front in Qatar, he was making progress.
Yeah, and then he made a stupid mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, but that move that Aegis made,
that was the move.
Was we were screaming at the TV, weren't we? Because he was that far off the wall, and about that far off the rail, and it was just ridiculous. I think Moto2 was quite an exciting race. I really enjoyed it, and
expected more from Aaron Canet. To be fair,
really expected more from Aaron Canet, but a Spaniard still won, and the deserving Spaniard won at the Spanish Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, he got Gonzalez in a league of his own, really. And
he's awesome.
The winning margin he had, I was saying to you, even Mark later, which never happened, won't win by 4 seconds. Okay, 2.2 at the end, but he had such a gap. When you're at home, he was sticking his leg out into the fans' stadium section. He was taking it easy.
Yeah, it was goon riding, but like
he got up to 4 seconds.
Sector 3. I'm pretty sure it was like Sector 3 where he started goon riding. Yeah. Maybe it was Sector 4, but it felt like he had a long way to go when he started pricking around.
Yeah. I've seen it. You just see it over the years. Yeah, I think you've seen your last pit board that says you've got a healthy lead. If you're confident enough and you could lose 2 seconds by doing it, then you're in the moment. I get it. I think you thought Alex Marquez vaguely did it as well at the stadium section. I think he waved or took his leg out. But,
remember,
it is a bit just steadier. You haven't won yet.
Because you think in the last lap you're always going to be the most focused and that sort of thing. But remember Joe Roberts Portimao a few years ago, where he just said that he was crying for the whole last lap when he was leading. Yeah. It was after that restart in 2023, and Joe won the race. Dixon was leading.
Was that 23? Was it? Yeah, whatever.
It was 23. It was after that ridiculous pile-up, where loads and loads of riders went up. Loads and loads of riders went off. A bike exploded. Iogura was nearly taken out by another bike that was speeding towards him. They were all in the gravel trap together. It got restarted, and then it was a grid of like 12 riders or something like that for the restart, and then
it was
Dixon was leading, crashed out, and then Roberts won, and Roberts was like, the entire last lap I was just crying. And I was like, fuck, can you imagine riding the entire lap of Portimao just with tears in your eyes? It was just a nightmare. But that's not goon riding, but Gonzalez was goon riding for I'd say a good third of the last third of the last lap. He was dicking around, and I was like, oh, please don't do something stupid.
That's the second win of the year. No, the Dixon's the only one who's won more than 1 races.
Yeah.
One race. But yeah, so it wasn't an incredible race, but yeah, interesting nonetheless. Moto3 was incredible. Last time I saw a win like that, well, Alonso's done a few, but it did remind me a bit of, this is Rueda I'm talking about, it did remind me a bit of Ralph Fernandez's wins in the back end of 2020. 21 he was in, was it 21? I think it
2022 he moved up to MotoGP.
He did, yeah.
Oh, but you're on about Moto3 now, aren't you?
Yeah, sorry,
2020.
Yeah, he just cleared off. In that era, it was really hard to do that because there hadn't, the gap was closer between the whole field. You could still have it. Now and again, you'll still get 18 rider groups.
Joan Mir as well used to do that. Joan Mir used to start off, didn't he?
He could do, yeah, but he didn't do it as much as Raul did, and I think Rueda might do that a few more times this year if he's comfortable. But that was insane.
So I wanted to bring a statistic into Moto3.
Go on.
So this time last year we'd had 5 races. Well, after 5, we've had 5 races this year. We've had 5 races last year, where last year we had 3 different winners by this point. This year we've only got 2 different winners. So it's been and obviously the big question that I'm getting onto is, can Jose Antonio Rueda maybe not match? Can he match or get close to the form of David Alonso from 2024? Because this time last year we'd had Qatar, Portimao, America, had Jerez and Le Mans
Yeah.
by this point.
Weird calendar, wasn't it, as you were saying
yeah,
before we
really
started,
weird.
yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
like Buddy Holly's last tour. And my point is that we've got Rueda winning the first race of the year, this year, and then Piqueras, then Rueda, then Piqueras, then Rueda.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Last year, we had David Alonso wins the first race of the year.
Yeah.
Danny Holgado won the second race of the year. Then David Alonso won the third. Colin Fire won in Germany. Colin Fire won the fourth race of the year, whatever it was. And then Alonso again. So we had Alonso won 3 at this point, staggered. And what's his face, Rueda, has won 3 of the first 5 this year.
Yeah.
And my question is, do we think that we can see Jose Antonio Rueda finally coming into some serious form? I mean, this is his third season.
It
will be his third season
the
now.
form we thought he'd have.
Alonso came into his form in his second season. But yeah, so Rueda's now in his third season, arguably on the best bike, with the best team,
best
Nicky Io's squad. I did actually hear someone balls up at some point over, it might have been Qatar weekend, and call it Aki Io's squad. And I was like, oh, actually, I think you'll find it's not Aki Io anymore, it's Nicky Io.
Yeah.
I don't know why that means I've got an adenoid problem.
Technically, he owns it still, doesn't he? But
yes.
Yeah.
But this time, this year, we have got 2 race winners in Moto3.
Yeah.
How mad is that?
Yeah.
How mad is that? When you think about Moto3 over the years, usually at this point we'd have. Well, if you look back to like 2022, or 2023, you'd have 5 different race winners.
Potentially, yeah.
Like, who the fuck wants this championship?
All the races have just been more bonkers, but someone's been smart in the last couple of laps.
And we're not seeing the big trains that we're used to from, which I think ended pretty much like halfway through last year. But we just didn't see the big trains anymore. 18 riders with winning potential, and now we're seeing a rider. Well, for example, Jerez, which was a fucking boring Moto3 race. I mean, it's exciting when you consider it for Rueda, but it was a pretty boring race. When you've got 1 rider, then you've got 3 riders, then you've got another 3 riders a bit further back. It's like, but
this is an important point. I'll need to say this before I forget it. Lewis Duncan said something really. He works for. We did work for Autosport, I think. I think he still does. Sorry, Lewis, if I got that wrong. If you're listening. But he was saying yes. Well, I don't think he really said that the old trains were entertaining, because I think they were. But at least now you know who really is good. Because before you could be good or okay, but because you're part of that train, it didn't really matter, because you could just slipstream City, throw up the inside, and if you go wide, just hang on to the back of the train, slipstream your way through the race, and then you get race winners now and then who are like 10th in the next one. At least now we know who truly is the best before they go on to things in Moto2.
I mean,
so that's a bit more clearer.
The top 8, of course, the top 8 were relatively close together. 8 seconds cover the top 8, pretty much bang on 8 seconds.
Yeah.
This is crazy. The next rider, so Alvaro Carpe was P8. Mm-hmm. The next rider over the line, Jacob Ralston, came over the line 13 seconds later.
I mean, it's that's a chunk in
That's
Moto3.
P9. Yeah, 13 seconds in Moto3 is like a lifetime.
Yeah, and tell you what, now you say that, in MotoGP, he was 13 seconds back if anyone was around that bracket, because that's interesting. P13 was Alex Rins, who's 21, okay.
So 13 seconds. No, but 13 seconds back. I mean, we're looking at Enea Bastianini, who was 15, almost 16 seconds behind. He was in P9. But there was no gap in MotoGP within the top 10 of more than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But in Moto3, I mean, I can't
imagine it. The thing is, it tracks like Mugello, the most flowing ever, and much faster, less squidgy. The tiny squidgy and tiny is a lack of a better word. I think you'll see more of a train in Mugello. Again, in theory, because we are seeing more surprises of bigger broken up groups in Moto3 at the moment. The Phillip Islands, you'll get at least 5 in the front group there. Silverstone, I'll be gobsmacked because it's so wide, Silverstone. Usually you always get a train there. I think, in 2023, there was still Dunlops. I think it's a lot of it's still with Pirelli.
It's got to be.
Has to be. But yeah, looking forward to Le Mans, really. I mean, I think Rueda he'll have it again. It's a confidence sport. I mean, every sport's a confidence sport, but motorcycle racing really does. I mean, Lorenzo would do nothing for ages, then he'd win, and then the winning got to his head, and you couldn't touch him for ages. So, I mean, some riders have that mentality.
I think Rueda is being more impressive at this stage of the year than David Alonso was last year. Another thing that I could throw in there is that at this stage of the year last year, 5 rounds in, we hadn't had a rider convert pole position into a win.
No.
Now we have, and so I think David Alonso at this point last year had got a P1 and a fastest lap, but not from pole position. But if you remember, he was never a rider that would qualify.
He did get poles
convincingly. He did get pole positions, but
he wasn't bothered about clearing off.
He didn't really qualify convincingly. He'd sort of be like P5, first or second row.
Happy to wait.
Happy to
wait.
And
then there's so many times that we saw. This is why I slightly disagree. It's because his racecraft is better than Rueda.
Yes.
At a younger stage in his life.
Yeah.
He's just absolutely fearless, Alonso. I mean, perfect example of the year. Yes, it was round 1 of Qatar last year. The Qatar Moto3 race last year, the last lap, Alonso just incredible. That's just one example of 14 Grand Prix wins. I think it was 14 in the end. But yeah, statistically, Rueda could do it. I mean, Kelso was up there fighting, but Quartararo beat him up a bit at the end there. I don't know if it is. Is it as strong as feel as it was before the last couple of years? I'm not so sure. You've got quite a few rookies in Moto2, the big dogs in Moto3 last year. Sometimes you have a bit of a gap, but then it doesn't matter because you've got like the likes of Quartararo now, who is lethally fast, and obviously Vitelli. Hoping we see him again this year. But there's a handful. You've got Lanetta who can do well. You've got Furisato who can do well. You've got Scott Ogden who is a real.
Furisato at Qatar was so pissed off, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was so pissed off with his P2.
Yeah. Tayo, he qualified like 8th, I believe. Now in the race, I kind of sort of got where it wasn't looking out for him for some reason. I always look out for him, but P6, yeah. Tayo's now in his 4th year.
Which is mad because I remember us. No, it can't be.
No, it was 2022. 22 since reaching 4.
No, because I remember.
No, it was 22. We were there in Mugello. Yeah, because he was there. The thing is, he started.
I feel like we were talking about him on a podcast. We were talking about him like Furisato. What a name for a rider, sort of thing. Like,
thing is, Furisato spent most of 2022 injured at the back because he was still clawing his way up. 23 was his first full year, and even then, it took him until we got to Thailand in 23. For him to really get up the front and show what he's made of, but it's just not really happened for him. It will. It's just a lot of these riders take a lot longer. They're not all superstars like David Alonso or Acosta.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that means nothing really. If you look, Mark didn't win a race till Mark didn't win a MotoGP 125 race till his 3rd year.
Yeah.
And he's regarded as he's on the way to being the greatest of all time. So it just takes these teenagers a little longer sometimes, and some of these riders blossom in MotoGP, have flashes of brilliance now and again in the lower categories, but not necessarily. It's just not their strong point. I mean, Casey was brilliant in 215, early in the championship. He didn't win a 125 title. Didn't win a 250 title. One of the most fastest riders of all time. But in MotoGP, that was him. Big bike, more power. Could use it more, and I think that's why Moto2 and Moto3, Moto2 more so, is just so harsh because
close.
How many riders before we go? I mean, there must be a list of riders that we'll never know. Could have been great at MotoGP, but wrong time in their career, wrong sponsor, wrong. That person was glued up in MotoGP for a contract, but we would have had you, and we'll never know. There will be a list there. That would be a good idea for a pod. People who didn't make it and probably should have done. But then we're speculating there. It's almost another fantasy, isn't it? You don't know how they're going to be in MotoGP. I mean,
could do a fantasy based on riders that should have been in MotoGP, but for reasons you've just said, never made it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be quite.
You could even go further.
That would be bloody hard. That would be a lot more difficult than the 26 rider lineup for 2027.
It would be hard. I mean, I always say Alex knows who Manuel Poggiali is, but Poggiali won the 125 title in 2001.
You're absolutely right. I have no idea who it is.
He's a 250 champion as well, but yeah, it was a travesty that he never got to MotoGP. He'd retired by now. I think Poggiali was older than Dani Pedrosa. I think he was like born in 82 or 83 or something like that. So he'll have retired by now. But he's an example of someone who was supposed to be the next big thing. And I think he lost his dad as well in 250s, and it's sort of conference. But just an example of someone who never made it. I mean, there'll be riders that make it to MotoGP and are just happy to. Well, not happy, but they'll just bring up the rear, which is a nasty thing to say in a way. But Chantra. What do you think Chantra's going to do? I mean,
really, realistically, not much at the moment.
He wouldn't be a rider that I would have said come to MotoGP anyway.
I know.
After 2 Grand Prix wins.
I think the only way that Tomcat's going to get any more points this year is by riders crashing out in front of him.
Yes,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just the other thing as well that we haven't spoken about the last couple of weeks because it happened just before Qatar is that we've not had Mats Keelis.
Yes.
So Mats Keelis injured himself before Qatar.
Yeah.
And has sat out the last couple of rounds.
It's easy to forget, though, isn't it? Really.
He's not been there. I mean, he had his debut at Kota because he wasn't old enough before, so he's only raced one of 5 this year.
Yep.
So he raced round 3 at Kota. Injured himself in between Kota and Qatar, and we haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Haven't seen him since. Yeah. So, well, hopefully.
Joel Esteban as well didn't have a great arrest.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, Joel Esteban, we've...
he had a great... Was it Kota? He led into turn 1, was that Joel?
Yeah. I'll tell you who was impressive was Joel Kelso. Speaking of Joel's, while we're here. Joel Kelso was very impressive.
He was, He doesn't look fast enough. His riding style looks so...
clunky.
It looks very smooth, but it looks... very old school. It almost looks like an early 2000s or 90s riding style. A bit like Miller in a way. Miller does hang off the bike, but Miller has his stature that's a bit upright at the same time. He's over, but his head's not as far over. It's like Pecco, for example, and Martin.
And Martin is
way over like this. Yeah, he does. Yeah, and Mark has his body out, but head not exactly like that. I love talking about riding styles. It's a nerdy thing, but yeah. Kelso just doesn't look like he's going fast enough to be the front, especially when it was an onboard at Piqueras before he pipped Kelso for that place. I think it was for P2. Yeah, it was for P2.
Yeah.
And you're looking at Kelso, I thought, he just looks slow. But he obviously wasn't being slow. That's just an old school riding style, maybe. But yeah, I think we pretty much covered what we wanted to, Al, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't look too convinced there.
Yeah, no, I think we're pretty.
Also, Alonso had a bit of a messy race, didn't he, in Moto2? Should mention that. He had a good weekend.
Oh yeah, he crashed twice. Didn't he?
Yeah, but he was.
This is Alonso Lopez, not David Alonso.
So no, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. I should have said.
Right. Yes, David Alonso.
Messy weekend. Fast.
He was looking really good.
Yeah,
he qualified his best qualifying. Yeah. He was looking really strong. And the race was just a complete balls up, wasn't it? Yeah.
But I can see him fast later this year. Yeah. Lopez did crash. Yes, you're right.
So that mistake we will learn from. We will not just say Alonso in Moto2 is doing this, doing that. We need to be more specific. Yeah. Not the first time we've had to do that, of course.
No. Alonso Lopez in Moto2 has a disappointing year so far for me.
It's been shabby, especially when he was a championship favourite. Well, not the championship favourite, but a championship contending favourite at the start of the year. I mean, I think he was last year as well.
Yeah.
And then just spammed it up. I don't know what it is about Alonso Lopez. He can be really, really fast when he wants to be, but he can be really, really shit when... Not when he wants to be, but it's just been such a pain watching him race, because he can win races. We've seen him win races. He can get podiums very convincingly.
Yeah.
But he can also throw it at the fucking scenery as much as he wants to win.
He can.
I think he's a very difficult rider to follow.
Yeah. I think he'll get podiums this year at some point as well. Vietti again Messi. He's there. He'll win races. He'll definitely win in Austria. But yeah.
Yeah, Vietti will definitely win in Austria. Well, no, hang on, because Pecco didn't win at Jerez.
True
Or
enough,
Mark.
yeah.
So hang on a minute. We might be having one of these. Do you ever think that, the sort of like simulation theory for life, where you think like life's a bit of a simulation, or that's like every now and again you'll meet an NPC, or what's the other one as well, like the Doctor Who thing of like parallel universes. I have it every now and again. Like a parallel universe where everything is completely normal, but there are zeppelins in the air, that sort of thing. And I get it every now and again at work, where a customer who always orders the same drink will order a slightly different drink, and I'm like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Am I in a parallel universe?" Maybe this is the parallel universe year, where the people who are supposed to win at certain tracks don't.
Yeah, well, that's already happened with Mark.
That's already happened with Mark.
Didn't win at Kota.
Yeah.
Didn't win at Jerez, even though it's not exactly. He's won 3 times at Jerez,
and
he won the sprint. And I thought, well, it's going to be a short Sunday. But then, he's still got Saxon to come. He has to win Saxon.
He's got to. No, but he probably won.
Let's just hope.
He's got to win the Saxon ring.
No,
otherwise, I will be like, nah, this is fucked up.
I just hope he doesn't hurt himself. I hope no one hurts himself, but I'm just saying if Mark hurts himself because he's chasing his tail because he's had another DNF or something like that, and then he can't get his teeth back in the championship, and then you've got this horrible thing on socials for years to come. Oh yeah, that championship, that was only because Mark was injured, and that's why Alex saw Pecco win the championship. Anyway, I'm going way off base there.
Also, I absolutely hate. I went on a bit of a drunken rant last night on Facebook, and I really shouldn't bite on Facebook because everyone that uses
always used to say you're an idiot for doing it.
People that go on comment sections and say stuff on comment sections on Facebook are usually idiots. And
then there's others that tell them.
And then last night I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not gonna bite my tongue this time. I'm just gonna comment on every single person that says, "Oh, crash cares. Oh, the gravel king's back. Oh, all that sort of. Oh, shut up, you fucking boring twat." And so I went to town last night, didn't I? I
tend to ignore the crash testers. It's just
I tend to do it as well.
But the thing I pisses me off is the Ducati Cup. That really
annoys me.
There's something in my head and that's when I bite, because how can you say that when Fabio was P2?
The thing that really gets me is the crash kes thing, because it's not even clever. If you use crash kes as a thing, and I love a good pun. I love a good pun. I love it when you can create a word out of 2 different words and make it really, really funny and that sort of thing. But Crash Kes isn't even funny. It doesn't even sound like Marquez. You've literally said the word crash and then the last 4 letters of his name. You're not clever. You're stupid. Shut up.
It's like you could say it right now about Joe Mir, but you wouldn't say, because he is crashing a lot. But you wouldn't say you wouldn't say Mir. No, you can't even say Mir crash.
Yeah.
It's like, anyway.
Fucking boring twats.
We're chewing the fat a lot now, but yeah.
Yes.
Fun. And we
always.
really need to. Thing is, now we're using this Riverside, which is a recording app, which is very good, but to get a guest on, and now we're doing it outside, we need to make sure we're really, on top of it now, because if we do have a guest on and we're outside, we need to make sure everything, no one could come in this door, or if we're outside and we're doing a pub episode, we need everything right. Because otherwise, obviously, a guest is going to make me thinking, well. Yes. But yeah, we are going to have guests on. I realise it's been a while since we've had a guest. It was Keith Ewan.
Keith Ewan last time, wasn't it?
So yeah, we have got something lined up. I will say it. We've got something really different lined up for. Well,
summer break.
It'll be way. No, it'll be before Bruno, but it might even be the coming weeks to see what happens. But obviously, you see guests in pit boxes, right? Those of you who don't know, those people, look, sponsors, family, friends, or there are suppliers like Brembo have taken some people over because they've done well, whatever. But you'll see some people, they'll be paying guests, they'll pay for team experiences. And these team experiences, there's a company that goes, I won't say it yet, but they go around every single, they do the Alemán TT, every Grand Prix, World Superbikes as well. You can pay for the privilege, and it is expensive, but it's once in a lifetime for a lot of people. And you can be in the paddock for 3 days with a team. You get lunch with them. It's really, really good. And if the timing's right, you'll potentially get a ride in a service car around the service road, which is really cool. And basically, there's potentially an interview going to have the guy who runs it, and I've known him a long time, and I'm hoping he's got some funny stories if he's allowed to tell them. But that'll be interesting because it's not a promotion or anything like that. We haven't got anyone used to get promotions and everything like that. But that's coming in let's say within a month, because obviously the gent that runs this company is a very busy man. If you imagine all the rounds he has to go to, so that'll be interesting. I would like to think. So it was actually your idea in the first place, anyway.
Hopefully before the summer break it will be.
Yeah.
But in the summer break we've probably got some other interesting interviews to have. Hopefully we'll be able to catch some people who aren't anywhere near as busy as because who wants to catch up with their family during the they just want to talk to us instead. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching.
And thanks, Mr. Bramble, at the end. But thanks for tuning in, folks.
And we'll prat around again next week for the Le Mans preview. And then, we'll go from there. And thank you very much for watching and listening and doing whatever you're doing. Have a wonderful evening. And we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Toodaloo.